A very good morning and a warm welcome to this week's edition of The Dialogue. It is the big show, time to look at the big events that made the week. We put them into context. Welcome aboard. My name is Prince Apollo. The panel is set to do a thorough analysis on those big events. Quite a very busy week with several heads of states, heads of governments and high-level delegations in Kampala as international events continue going on at the Commonwealth Resort Munyonyo. We are talking about the Non-Aligned Movement Conference, the G77 Summit, and the extraordinary meeting of IGAD. My name is Prince Apollo once again. Welcome to the big show. But Dr. Jared Wanzara, the wise man from the East, specifically Namisindwa, is already in the studios. Speak to our viewers, Dr. Jared, before we kick off this big show.
Of course, I start by greeting you, my host, Apollo. Good morning, our esteemed viewers. It's always a pleasure being here and engaging with you for 2 hours. I bring you greetings from the United Republic of Chirinya. The United Republic is calm, no problem. Wow. I heard that you people in Kampala were planting matoke in potholes. Yeah. For us, we are peaceful.
So how was the week with Dr. Jared Wanzara?
Of course, just like any other Ugandan, the eyes were on these conferences that we are hosting. And Uganda is out there. I hope we can sustain this. And also, of course, people are worried about maybe the post-conference, issues of corruption and so forth. But I think I'm proud of my country for hosting such events. It's something that, because people inbox me, Uganda, you're so busy this week, and that's important to me.
That's very important. Well, we will be joined by the Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimide, Member of Parliament for Buyaga West. Big up to the people of Kagadi and the Kagadi Broadcasting Services that are actually pushing our voices further and further. We really appreciate, and will be, of course, linking up with you as you send in your comments on these big other issues. We'll be also joined by a communication expert, Richard Baguma, looking at a very, very busy week, moment of sadness, talking about the demise of a long-serving legislator, an astute politician whose service has been described as impeachable, as with impeachable reputation. Honorable Ceclia Ogwal passed on this particular week, and we'll take some few minutes to pay tribute to this really political figure, a mother, and at one time she was labeled the UPC Iron Lady because of her tough stance on women's rights and democratic principles. Dr. Jared Wanzara, quickly talk about Dr. Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. To me, it's a life well lived. Well, at 77, he passed on in a hospital in India, and it is cancer, we've been told, and I think it's a life well lived.
Yeah, I will talk about Cecilia not as any other person that we have discussed here, but as a person that I knew personally, that an elder who mentored many of us. Like, I'm always proud of my background. As you know that before I left partisan politics, I was a member of the Uganda People's Congress and a youth leader in Makerere at that, and therefore I had close interaction with Mama Ceclia Ogwal. But even before that, my interest in the politics of Uganda started earlier when I was a young boy, because my father was not a politician, but he supported the politicians. And as that, these are people of Uganda People's Congress. So I picked that interest, and it motivated me to join the UPC. And so when I was there, I dealt closely with her. But before that, I knew her because of the first contribution as Miss Uganda. And you know, she narrated to us that at their time, 1969, when she competed for Miss Uganda, the issue was not about the size of the hips someone had, or the, you know, but how you walked. Exactly. But then that was not the focus, because she said their beauty contest was funded by the Tea Growers Association, and therefore it was about promoting Uganda crops. And therefore, because of her knowledge, she was able to beat the other girls, because she responded to all the questions that they were asking her. So it was always about beauty and the brains. And so that's when she hit her first mark on the scene of Uganda. And
but there's something to clear up there. It is written that this was not specifically Miss Uganda, but an independence contest or pageant.
Yes.
And she did not actually win that. She was the runner-up.
Yes.
In that particular contest.
Yeah, but she stood out because of her her brains, and therefore she even became a kind of an ambassador. Or, you know, not ambassador in the current sense, representing a country in another country, but in respect to the beauty and brains. So later on, during the 1979, of course she was in exile as a young activist, but people like Yona Kanyomozi say that she did a great role, like on the reception desk, to receive many Ugandans in Kenya who were running away from Uganda and going to exile. And of course, she entered the UPC 1982, 85 as Assistant Secretary General. Of course, a young woman at the time, very vibrant, and when Dr. Obote went to exile, she was so instrumental in remaining here, and her position was that she stayed around so that she can fight and change things from within, because she believed that escaping would be cowardice, but by staying around, she would engage the existing government for the betterment of Uganda. And in the CA, Constitutional Assembly, you know, she's one of the people who made our constitution. And she is remembered for being so articulate that at the time there are the people who were the movers and shakers of the CA to ensure that we got a good constitution of 1995. Yeah. And of course, when Dr. Bote was away, she was the chairperson of the Presidential Policy Commission. But around 1996, Dr. Bote issued a directive that UPCs should boycott the general elections because President Museveni had refused to accept political parties to come. So he didn't believe that when there are no political parties, they would effectively compete and have an impact on the electoral process of Uganda. So she defied and said, if we boycott, this will be a death sentence for UPC. And many people blamed him. You know, in UPC there were the Oboteists who never wanted to question anything to do with Milton Obote. And so those who followed Milton Obote actually did not come back. They disappeared from the political scene. So her group, Dr. Kule Park, Ben Wacha, John Odit, those who defied Dr. Obote actually remained around. And so I can say that she was a leader in championing for the return of multipartyism in Uganda. And so she paid a price. She was a rejected person in the UPC, but of course she was foresighted that if she had followed Obote's advice, then she would have also faded and we would have missed her contribution. Now, to me, when I was in Makerere, the Political Parties and Organizations Act was passed. When it was passed, there was a policy that all political parties, including those that were spared by the 1995 Constitution, should again register afresh. So the challenge we had then was that there were NRM activists, one was called Tusubira, who went and picked forms attempting to register UPC. Knew him, was the leader, was not a member. So they picked forms, they tried to get a flag to go and register. And at that time, people, the UPC leaders were saying, we cannot register again because we were spared by the Constitution. But because of Tusubira's actions, we decided to say, let's go and register the party. And she led us. We marched from Uganda House to Amam House, registered the party, we marched back, okay. She came back, she went to Zambia and reconciled with Milton Obote, and she came back. So she led us into collecting the signatures across the country and actually even registering. If you go to Uganda, to the registrar of political parties, you will find that she's one of the people who registered that party. But because of the internal contradictions within the party at that time, at some point there was an exodus from Uganda House and said, we are tired of fighting and self-destruction. This is how they moved and joined with other people who were from NRM, others from DP, to form the FDC. So that's how she and another group left and started the FDC. But one thing, I think I last met her when I was moderating at the induction ceremony for this parliament on sustainable development goals, and she was so vocal about issues of the girl child, issues of sanitation, and actually because of that I gave her a microphone and she was more of a teacher to other members of parliament. So for me, there are three things that I learned about Cecilia. One, she had the love for the country.
Yeah.
Two, the ability to reconcile with people, that whenever the adversaries who would confront her, she had the ability to overturn that and have the courage to say, sorry, we can work together again, which is actually lacking among so many actors in this country. And even the president can testify, President Museveni. Among the people I think he would love working with, would have loved working with, was the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal.
Really?
Yes.
Despite being a firebrand in the opposition.
She was not missing words about her love for political parties, her love for democracy, but she could give the guidance where many people feared to speak out. And I can say because of that, she had so many friends, but also some enemies. Now, to prove that she was really forgiving, you remember when the Honorable late Minister Eli Tumwine allegedly put her on gunpoint in the corridors of Parliament, and then it caused a lot of havoc in the House. After a few days, he was referred to the committee, and she said, "Okay, I've forgiven you."
She even came to the floor of Parliament and made that open pardon to.
Exactly. Now, in these altercations of the Speaker and the Honorable Namganza Zake, she tried so much to work behind the scenes to ensure that she reconciles and these differences don't play in the public to tarnish the image of Parliament. So for me, in summary, that is the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal.
That is the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. She passed on this week, and we really we expect her remains to be repatriated tomorrow at exactly at 2 p.m. and a series of activities in honor of her service will continue all through the week, and she will be laid to rest in Kole district on Saturday, 27th January this year. And my producer, if he can run that picture and photograph of the late Cecilia Ogwal, a firebrand in the opposition, an outspoken leader, who was once hailed as the UPC Iron Lady, and a devoted Christian at that, a mother, and a women's rights champion. We really miss Cecilia. At 77, succumbed to cancer in a hospital in India. And something you can talk about in these few minutes, Gerard, Dr. Gerard, as we pay tribute to a fallen hero. Cancer. It is cancer that, of course, took the late Jacob Olanya. It is cancer that also took the life of General Eri Tumwine and several many others. And to me, I think cancer is a silent killer to which we have not accorded due attention. I don't know if what you make of that, as of course we continue to pay tribute to Cecilia Ogwal.
Actually, I will talk about cancer because I had a patient around 2007, 2008, and I used to take this patient to Mulago Hospital for chemotherapy. So for me to leave Bunga at that time and then take her to Mulago, I had to wake up always at around 4 a.m. and then take the patient so that I'm able to arrive. You know, you begin queuing at around 5 because you want to get to be in the queue to see the doctor. So sometimes I would say the whole day was dead because I have to line up to ensure that so many people suffering. Now, yesterday, I think this week, I saw the Honorable Ayume, the chairperson of the Health Committee of Parliament, presenting the committee report to the Budget Committee. As you know, the budget process is on. And he was really making a case that most of our regional hospitals lack diagnostic equipment for these diseases. So many times you will go to the hospital, even by the way, some of these hospitals you see in Kampala that I call them hotel hospitals. They look so nice, they charge so expensively, but when you enter
we can come back to the studio and of course as we continue to pay tribute to
yes, they are so expensive. They look like hotels, they are clean, you'll enter there, but it is a hoax because you'll enter there and many times these tests they tell you have to come 3 days. So by the time they discover the problem, you rotate around. By the time you reach the cancer institute and your problem is confirmed, probably the disease
has developed to another level.
Exactly. So I really want to appeal that let the government really prioritize what the Honorable Ayume was presenting before the budget committee. If we don't have a healthy population, we don't have an educated population, we shall be wasting time. We shall be wasting time. But cancer is a big problem. Just go with your with your cameras one of these days to the Cancer Institute, you'll know how big that problem
serious
is.
That problem is.
Exactly.
And speaking about cancer and the sad and the serious impact it has dealt our Ugandans, even on the list, Mr. Keith Makanizi also succumbed to cancer, and very many others. Prominent, I'm talking about these prominent Ugandans, but very many people. That shows you that there are very many other Ugandans who are silently.
There are very many,
and
honestly, we need like maybe regional centers of excellence for cancer, similar to the Cancer Institute here. We need one probably in Mbarara, in Gulu, Mbale, because people don't. Just imagine how many Ugandans don't even have money to transport themselves to even come to Mulago, so that their problem can be identified. So it's a big problem.
All right, we still mourn the passing of Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, and tributes have been flowing in every other minute, especially leaders referring to him as a mentor, a mother, and of course a moderate politician who loved her country and whose service to the country leaves behind a legacy of an impeachable impeccable character. And finally, from you, Dr. Gerard, at the time of her death, he was serving in the FDC. What can you recall about that transition from UPC to the Forum for Democratic Party?
One of the what I recall, because I was there anyway, her shift from UPC to FDC was kind of acrimonious.
Oh.
You know why? Because in 2005, Dr. Bote died, and when he died, of course before that, there was a purge at Uganda House.
Oh.
When, you know, every time you age, people take advantage of you. So there are groups that would leave Uganda and go to Zambia and always make allegations against Dr. James Rwanyarare, like us. We were just, you know, young boys, but they were saying we had planned with Dr. Rwanyarare and others to do a coup at Uganda House. And even in Makere, they came to purge us from there. So at the end of the day, anything that said no to Obote was a problem in the UPC. Just the way you are seeing similar things almost happening in NRA. Too much praise for a leader without critiquing is wrong. So, you imagine she participated, she came back, reconciled, was involved in registering the party afresh, and then after a short time, people are against you, you know.
So the infightings in the Uganda People's Congress and possibly jostling for positions in UPC may have forced her out to join the FDC.
Exactly, and she was not alone. As you know, there was the Lango parliamentary group of UPC by then was so loyal to her. She was showing leadership.
Oh.
They believed in her. So when there was that at Uganda House, they decided to say, you know what, we cannot waste any more years of fighting in UPC. And that exodus really weakened the UPC in Lango. It was never the same until now.
Until now.
Yes.
Well, that is the now former member, district woman member of parliament for Dokolo County, Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. Her service spans at least 3 decades, and what describes her legacy is an impeccable reputation in leadership and also speaking to power and authority. I don't know if our producer can run that video and of course in tribute to Cecilia Ogwal.
Let the elder say something. Let the elder. Okay, elder.
We have been ambushed, so.
Your Excellency, the problem with the young generation, they came up too late. And so they have not learned certain manners. First of all, they are not even appreciating that I have come to my brother's home. Instead of asking me to receive them on your behalf, they are actually denying me the microphone. Can you imagine? So all of you go and sit down. Your Excellency, you spoke for 1 hour. I checked my watch. And I have an addendum to make. That's why I was surprised that they didn't want to give me the microphone. There are 2 or 3 issues which are very critical, and I need to bring to your attention. You addressed us for 1 hour. You did not mention the plight of the girl child. Right now in Lango sub-region, in Acholi sub-region, the whole of Uganda, we have child mothers of 9 years, 10 years, 12 years. It is important that the country must come up with a strategic plan to address the issue of the child mothers. Please. And you people who are responsible for child murders, go and sit down. I don't want to see anybody more. Your Excellency, I was also surprised that you have not mentioned one critical issue. I know I've appreciated you before, and you singled me out as somebody who has never given you credit for the good things you do. But I've always done that, where there's credit to give. But on many occasions, you have done well and then you mess it up. So I can't keep quiet. I have to tell you. Because if I don't, they are all protecting their jobs, so they cannot tell you. But at least for me, you get it for free. Your Excellency, allow me to register in Baralegi State Lodge that we, the women of Uganda, and the women of East Africa, and the women of Africa, are very thankful to you for having promoted women in leadership. And for those who don't know, Your Excellency, before even addressing us, you should have recognized that the Vice President has recaptured back the post of the Vice Presidency, because we had it before. That is something which ought to have been.
Yes, and that is the Honorable Ceclia Ogwal. May her soul rest in peace. And she is speaking to President Museveni right in the face, telling him, these people around you will not tell you these things, and that is what we call speaking to power. And she advances the rights of the girl child, and that is what she has been known for all this long. And Dr. Jared Wario-Anzala, quickly as we wind up this tribute, are we not really at this point in time missing out on such a characters who can speak their heart, even in the opposition, people who can speak what they feel it's really, really important to their people and their communities, not looking at whether they are in government or not in government, but you saw her, you heard her appreciate the president and telling him, I give credit where it's due, but you've done this good, but at times you mess up things.
Yeah, of course, Apollo, I know you have been around some time. At the time when MPs were earning very little, and, you know, when the politics was not so monetized. Like I remember my place, Professor Timothy Wangusa would be a lecturer in Makerere and then comes and says, vote for me with his mouth, not spending money, and says, but I'm going to do A, B, C, D. And people would follow on radios and listen, what did you speak? So they would vote people, and if you look at most of those long hybrid of leaders, would be elected on merit without spending money. Now when we kept on increasing the PACs and made parliament like a job, like kind of executive position, and the pay increased, the business people found their way in the what? In the parliament. Now, if you're a deal person, you're a business person, and you find your way in that house, definitely your interests and the interests of the communities are really different. Because while you are looking for money, the people are expecting service delivery. So at the end of the day, the leaders, instead of arguing people's cases and telling them the truth, that my job is not to pay school fees, my job is not to make a bridge, my job is to speak for you and to pass laws. So you keep on pretending. You reach a trading center, you give 50,000 a year, barriers. So there is a switch from your responsibility of speaking like that and then just to become another, pretending to be a donor, and yet you cannot donate. That's why many MPs now are running away from money lenders. That's the challenge. Now, lastly, as I conclude about her tribute, When I left partisan politics and joined the civil society movement, I had the opportunity between 2010 and 2011 to disseminate the parliamentary performance scorecard in over 200 constituencies in Uganda. And among the places I went was Dokoro, her area. So I had a nice experience in Buzaya, where Honorable Isaac Musumba was a member of parliament. He called me because what I was doing were basically two things. One, I would go and teach people about the roles and responsibilities of MPs. And then two, I would disseminate the parliamentary performance report. So I would write to the area MP and invite them to attend. And then we discuss together. But what happened to me in Buzaya was, when I informed the Honorable Minister then that I'm going to your place, he instead mobilized the hooligans in Nawanyago to come and beat up the participants. So I remember I left Nawanyago when his own constituents were fighting each other. I had invited sheikhs, reverends, the influential public. Actually, that act made the minister to lose the elections in 2011. He did not go back because of that character. Now, when I informed the Honorable Cecilia that I am coming to Dokoro, I'm inviting you and I'm meeting people, she sent her representative. And on my way there, she called me and said, my son, I have nothing to hide. You can go. My PA is there. Discuss whatever you want. So we had a very cordial meeting in Dokoro until I left. So you can see.
So an open-minded leader who doesn't have anything to hide.
She said, I have nothing to hide. It is okay, you can discuss my performance. It is also good to teach my people about roles, my role as a member of parliament, so they don't overburden me with financial requests. It is the opposite I got in the Buzaya.
And indeed, the country will continue to miss people like the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, and even her age, the people of her age, I hope they're the ones who can, if they have the guts.
But lately we have people. Lately we have people of her age who are. You look at them; they are deceiving. They look at the correct line and they told the negative one. And I think this is what Olaro Otuno described as a moral crisis that the country maybe is in.
Okay, let me look at the messages as they come in. Of course, as we continue to pay tribute to the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. Apollo, thanks for the show. Honorable Cecilia was a true political enigma of Uganda. She stood firm and true to plight of mothers of this nation. Rest in peace, Honorable Wanyaka Sam Gilbert. Oh, thank you so much, Honorable
Was the one who was working at Parliament?
Wanyaka Sam Gilbert. Thank you so much for that message. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Richard Baguma as we continue to pay tribute to Honorable Cecilia. Pleased to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. It's always very good to be here. Always the honor and praise goes to him who enables us to be here, really.
Indeed.
I have enjoyed the NAM jam, so I apologize to you and to the viewers.
Sarcastically.
Today I enjoyed the NAM jam. I hadn't really experienced it properly, but very, very big apologies.
Okay, it's okay.
It's nice to see a youthful looking Dr. Werike in his baseball cap.
Speaking about the late Cecilia Ogwal, what can you really point out as what describes the foreign legislator and an outspoken leader and politician?
I think for me, every time I would see Cecilia, the Honorable Ogwal, I would just think this is a clever woman. That's what you come. I said, this woman is clever. She knows how to read the political times
Okay.
and find space for herself. She would always, difficult, hard circumstances, she would find space for herself. And this for me started during my journalism days, especially at her time at the UPC at Uganda House. There were not many women, generally, but also not many women in the opposition. And then she was very strong. There were many men, by the way, in UPC who I think are everywhere.
She wasn't very strong. She has been.
Who has
all along.
Yeah, of course. So the title Iron Lady, in my view, fitted. There are many of us who are really entitled. We have been in positions for long. So what is this woman talking? Is an attitude. And the other thing for me about her was I would try to follow her positions, public positions, on women empowerment.
Exactly.
She was careful not to be extreme, but she was still strong, an activist. She was still the kind of level of balance. But finally, she had a way of keeping her family out of this, of harm, her public, you know. The family, we really didn't see the family, the children, the husband.
Isn't it something that comes automatically? Because I gave it a thought one of these days. I would look at people like the Honorable Miriam Matembe. Few people know the husband to Honorable Miriam Matembe. The same goes with Ceclia Ogwal and many others. And I think possibly if one shines, then somebody must remain in the background. I don't know.
No, if you say must, then you should add that if they are going to remain in harmony.
Oh.
One must remain in the background if they are going to remain in harmony. We also know, and I don't want to say them here, we also know generally the couples where both are shining, they generally tend to be apart.
Okay.
So I think there is also that balance, and I think she was firm in both in public life, but I think she was firm in her private life as well. What all the people I have spoken to over the years say about her is this that Dr. Werike was talking about. A certain level of openness that is not very much characteristic of people who are in political positions, particularly because many people fear that they are going to lose if they open up. There is a sense that there is something to hide. She didn't seem to have that sense. She seemed to, you know, openly give you interviews if you wanted, talk to you about whatever the issues you would ask her about. She should not shy away from the microphone or camera every time we wanted. And so I think she was kind of a different breed.
Enigma.
An uncommon breed.
So finally from you on her service, widely described as reputable, impeccable service. Do we still have many people? Because that is usually my worry. Whenever I see such a characters, exiting the stage, I feel like maybe we have very few people who can now be of such a character to take up their positions.
No, I usually have a different position on that, and I usually refer to everybody when they say this was very good. I say, where did that person come from? They were ordinary boys and girls in high school or university, and they emerged. Yeah, they had certain character, but they also had circumstances. One of the things is for her, she really resisted, at least being publicly bought off. There could have been compromises. There's no one who is perfect. There will always be compromises that happen. But I think the ability to stand and not be bought off publicly, because I have no doubt in my mind that there were numerous offers
to buy her off.
To buy her off. I think she took a very, very firm stand and resisted them. There were always compromises, which are also strategic. That's why I said she knew how to read the situation and find her space and fit in. But I don't. For me, let me tell you, I don't doubt that if the environment, if the context is facilitative of people to emerge, they will emerge. What I think it happens now is that the environment clamps down on whoever tries to emerge. Yes.
And finally, from you, Richard, before you stepped in, I raised a concern about the increasing cases of cancers, and she succumbed to cancer. I gave an example of the late Jacob Olanya, the same case, January Tumwine, the same case, and of course the former PSST to the Treasury, Keith Makanizi. And I was saying, this could be a silent killer that we have not given due attention.
I don't think it's silent. I think it's a screaming killer, actually.
Okay.
It kills very, very painfully, and it is killing many, including high profile. In this country now, we have probably up to 15 people presenting with cancer every day at the Uganda Cancer Institute alone.
Which is in Kampala?
Yes, they get more than 4,000 plus people every year. And that's more than 12 people, close to 15 people every single day at one health unit, the Uganda Cancer Institute in Mulago. So what is in the community therefore? And you see, I have dedicated part of my life, Apollo, you know.
I know.
To fighting the drivers of such things. It is tobacco use, it's alcohol use. I get condemned that I'm fighting happiness. No, I am fighting the drivers of cancer, of heart disease, and we say these things. It is the way we consume. It's the food, the trans fatty acids that we are eating. It is this thing that we are doing. The new tobacco use that we call sitting. It is the sedentary lifestyle. So you have a combination of consumption of these other substances, directly or indirectly. You have the consumption of a very poor diet. You have the lifestyle. All these push cancer. And then we have either a poor health-seeking culture, so we don't check as regularly as we are advised, or we have very poor health services that even when you go, it is discovered when it is late. So we have this combination of factors. But if we focused on this Apollo, and the awareness was high, and the behavior was slightly different, I think we would reduce the numbers. Not stop them, of course. Yes.
All right. It is, of course, time to pay tribute to the late now Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. And messages are coming in this first hour. Let's, of course, pay tribute to this fallen leader. Apollo, thanks for the show. And thank you very much for giving us those people. Really, that woman was very okay to Parliament of Uganda. And I think all opposition members, if they were having a heart of Ugandans, they could have learnt from her. So she rests in eternal peace. Really, we are going to miss her. I am Sabit Eric in Mutungo. Thank you so much, Sabit Eric from Mutungo. And another one says, good morning, members. Najuko Shakira from Kasangati. I can see your short message here, and all others. You can send in your comments on these and other issues that are coming up. We have to talk about the NAM G77 summit going on in our country. Bwana Apollo, can Uganda ever get a chance to have the likes of Matembe, Byanyima, Kazibwe, I think that is Dr. Specioza, Bitamazire? Bitamazire is still alive, I hope.
She?
Yes, she is. Cecilia Ogwal, etc. Wanyaka Sam Gilbert, of course, sending in a message from Mbale. And Richard again, he's talking about the same thing I was speaking to Dr. Jared Wera-Wanzala. That breed of a rare breed of politicians.
We have them. There's no question. It is that their environment was facilitating them to grow. It was nurturing them into leadership. It was giving them space to shine and present themselves. The current context. If you try to shine, you must shine within the buying off. You must have been bought off and shine quote unquote with directed. The shining must be directed. It must be controlled.
I will ask my producer again, because to run that video again, Honorable Barnabas is coming in any time. I want him to submit on this particular topic before we move on. If you can run that video very fast for Baguma, who was not here, and we make a final comment on her life, which I hope has been well lived. Just run it one more time, please.
Let the elder say something. Let the elder. Okay, elder.
We have been ambushed, so
Your Excellency, the problem with the young generation, they came up too late, and so they have not learned certain manners. First of all, they are not even appreciating that I have come to my brother's home. Instead of asking me to receive them on your behalf, they are actually denying me the microphone. Can you imagine? So all of you go and sit down. Your Excellency, you spoke for 1 hour. I checked my watch, and I have an addendum to make. That's why I was surprised that you didn't want to give me the microphone. There are 2 or 3 issues which are very critical, and I need to bring to your attention. You addressed us for 1 hour. You did not mention the plight of the girl child. Right now in Lango sub-region, in Acholi sub-region, the whole of Uganda, we have child mothers of 9 years, 10 years, 12 years. It is important that the country must come up with a strategic plan to address the issue of the child mothers. Please. And you people who are responsible for child mothers, go and sit down. I don't want to see anybody more. Your Excellency, I was also surprised that you have not mentioned one critical issue. I know I've appreciated you before, and you singled me out as somebody who has never given you credit for the good things you do. But I've always done that, where there's credit to give. But on many occasions, you have done well and then you mess it up. So I can't keep quiet. I have to tell you. Because if I don't, they are all protecting their jobs, so they cannot tell you. But at least for me, you get it for free. Your Excellency, allow me to register in Baralegi State Lodge that we, the women of Uganda, and the women of East Africa, and the women of Africa.
Yes, that is what they call speaking to power, and we will miss you, and it is because of cancer. Cancer has robbed this country a leader, a mother, and one leader with a reputable service record. We should go for a break, and when we return, we will be looking at the ongoing international conferences in this country, and like I said in the beginning, many heads of states and heads of government are in this country. It's a time to leverage on opportunities and these events bring. But we'll be asking the members in the studio about the progress and how they see events as they unfold at the Commonwealth Resort in Munyunyu. Habode will be returning from India tomorrow. We've been informed at 2, and the whole week the activities preceding her send-off will be running all through the whole week up to Saturday, when she will be laid to rest in Kole district. May her soul rest again. Good morning, members. Thank you for the program. I'm Goreti from Fopoto, and I'm watching. Thank you so much for watching. Keep those messages coming in, and we go for a break. It is the big show, the dialogue, and we'll be right back. Welcome from the break. This is the big show. This is the dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo Richard Bagumatin Kasimire, a communication expert, and Dr. Jerere Wanzala, a public policy researcher, here to take you through the big stories of the week. We hope to be joined by the Honorable Badabastin Kasimire, Buyaga West MP, and big up to Kagadi Broadcasting Services. They are pushing our voices further and further. We really treasure that that move. And talking about Uganda, the country is in the spotlight. Big and international events going on in this country. Heads of states, heads of governments, heads of high-level delegations are here in Uganda for the Non-Aligned Movement Summit, the G77 conference, and the extraordinary IGAD meeting that was concluded this week. And looking at the gains, the progress of this particular event, it is now my honor to, of course, bring the panel to you. Dr. Jerere Wanzala, if I may ask you, so far, so what? What do you see?
What I see, like you have rightly put it, is that, of course, we have a lot of international media, and the attention is on the country, which is a positive. For us who have traveled outside this country, you find people confusing Uganda and Ghana. You find people sometimes only know Egypt, South Africa, and maybe Kenya, you know. So we used to struggle with that. And also people have a tendency to, like, Africa is one big country, and yet here we have so many small fragmented states. But as a Ugandan, I'm really proud. Yeah. So far, the conference has gone on without security incidents.
Any
incidents. And I also want to thank the police, because the manner in which they have handled the banana planting protest, I was so worried that maybe they would shoot down one opposition person, and then it would blanket the media, and then the focus changes from the conference to human rights. But so far, they have been so careful that I saw Dr. Kizabesye planting his matoke and freely. So let the visitors go, and we go back to our usual quarrels. And then the other, of course, the focus on what was being discussed. I saw the women's conference, that the focus was so much on the plight of women, especially in the developing world, the issues of inequality in terms of access to jobs, in terms of women giving a lot of labor and being more, but earning less, and so trying to focus the attention on the plight of the women. I saw the committees that the Ambassador Idonia Ayebare chaired, focusing on issues like Gaza Strip, and then a resolution that we need a two-state solution
for,
but of
the
course,
Gaza conflict.
As per the non-aligned movement principles, the language was so veiled without critiquing, but saying a solution somewhere must be found to have two states of Palestine and Israel. And of course, they encouraged South Africa for taking the matter to court.
To International Court of Justice.
Yes, and that position was adopted as a good one, because then the court can discuss some of these things and come up with the results. And of course, I also like the fact that this one big group resolving on the bigger countries, the biggest polluters, to pay for the damage, climate damage, so that we pollute less, and then those people pollute more, but they're telling us plant forests, do this. But so all these countries are NAM saying, you know what, they should pay for the damage. And society, we can also adapt to the climate change. Because as you are seeing, I'm telling you, if you want to see the effect of climate change, go to the villages. People used to know, like in my place, that in March, rain is coming, and therefore everyone is preparing to plant crops. These days you can plant 3 times. You plant, drought comes in, you know, the seeds that you bought die, and so issues like irrigation, issues like mitigation, planting trees. So a common position, for me that was very important. And of course on issues of wars and disaster, saying that, you know, as developing countries, we do not we do not want to be involved in the chaos. But of course, the language our president used was a little bit a shift from non-aligned movement to being aligned.
He took a position, an aligned position.
Yes, actually, if anyone can see from the president's statements, from the president, I think there is a line he has taken
maybe
lately.
he was speaking as now the chair, trying to move the whole lot toward a certain direction. As
yes,
a chair.
As a chair, yes. I know he wanted to influence, but of course we must be so careful that we are not seen to be moving away from the objectives of the non-aligned movement. Of course, he's right when he talks about the dominance,
the
of some
oppressors,
countries, the oppressors,
the bullies.
But certain words, the parasites, these the Western parasites, the this and that. I think that language makes us shift
from the west to the east.
And lately, I'm also seeing the manner in which the West is handling us. I think they are kind of aware that these people have shifted.
Okay, good as they may be, the resolutions and the decisions at NAM and G77, did you see a chance of them becoming fruitful or bearing fruits anyway? I mean, being accepted at higher levels, being respected by those they call now big bullies.
For me, I think I saw Ugandans saying NAM is no longer relevant because the Cold War ended, this and that. But I believe that when you are one big lobby group, okay, on such issues, at least by their advocacy, does not happen in one day. He's talking about alcohol. The first you can go, you get a week low. Next time you go, you continue. So for me, I don't expect to see results tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
But I know that being the second biggest gathering after the United Nations gathering, it is a big lobby group that someone cannot easily ignore. The only challenge is that amongst them, there are individual state interests. Like here, we have the anti-homosexuality law. In South Africa, the homosexuals can do anything anytime publicly, and no one will touch them.
But that is diversity in
Exactly. So those are some of the challenges, that certain issues, they may not. That's why they agree to handle those that are non-controversial and focus on those.
Anything to speak about the attendance? Because I saw not many heads of states coming. Anything you can point out?
I think what people should know that such conferences, if a vice president, like the vice president of Azerbaijan, who was handing over to the president, he did not sit there as a vice president. He sat there as a president. Because he carried the office of the president to Kampala. I saw the vice president of Cuba. He did not come as...
Even China, center. Vietnam also center.
Yes. So if you are coming, that's why they call it the heads of state and heads of government. So you can have a title, but you are carrying the shoes of the president to attend the summit. So for me, that was okay. Even if we had a few presidents, but we saw a number of vice presidents, a number of prime ministers. For me, that was...
Even our neighbor PK did not come in person?
PK has his own issues. He prioritized the World Economic Forum, and I saw him make very strong statements there.
To the Economic Forum.
Yes, including threatening to return some money to the UK,
to the British government.
But of course, those challenges are there, like you are seeing in the region.
Okay, Richard Baguma, I think it is an opportunity for Uganda to enjoy the spotlight. Have we really maximized this rare opportunity?
It's rare indeed, because you see, I don't think in the history of the world we have had these conferences back to back. Remember, you know, this from the beginning of this year, we had the Speakers and Presiding Officers Conference. We have the non-aligned movement summit and the G77 plus China, and in there we had the IGAD meeting. So it's very. I think it is not, to be honest, to just dismiss this as a small thing. I think the country, you know, has, yes, been in the spotlight. Whether not so positively or positively, but at least you have a few more people who know Uganda. That's for sure. The other thing is this thing of having people working together. Even where you have powerful nations, when they go into initiatives, aggression or fighting or what, you see them struggling to create coalitions, to have others come to their cause, coalition of the willing or whatever they call it. So NAM and the G77 is an opportunity to work together to further each other's interests. Yes, and those opportunities are necessary. They are always useful. And so, for me, I look at it at that level. It is not true that the voice of NAM will be totally ignored.
Oh.
It is not true. I'm told the Secretary General,
like the resolutions made on the Gaza war, those that involve geopolitics, would they be respected?
You see, I think it would not be clever to think that, for example, the Israelis would not be happy to have all these countries pro them. Oh. That they don't care, that they would have a resolution against them. Obviously, they care. So it's you may say I am ignoring, but this certainly affects them. They are these nations like to be praised, like to look good, like to be, you know. So when you have all these nations coming and having a voice stronger on condemning you than being pro you, you can't pretend that for you you don't care. It's bad for diplomacy. It's bad for relations. So I think that's important. But for me, the real value of NAM would be in strengthening economic cooperation.
Yeah, true.
If we can have economic cooperation strengthened, you know, at least a little bit more amongst these countries, then for me, NAM would really have been very successful. Oh. Yes, because what makes us weak? What makes us weak?
Because we are
divisions. No, the divisions. It is the divisions that make us weak. Imagine how much wastage we have in the East African region by the bickering, by the bickering amongst us. How much does that impact negatively on business, on economic improvement, on people's welfare? Just from the curtailing business to spending so much time trying to spy on each other, sabotage each other, buy arms to prepare in case the other one comes. It's so wasteful and so time wasting. So if we can have these forums, and these forums strengthen our ability to communicate with each other, to sometimes remove some of those or lessen some of those unnecessary suspicions, to streamline that even when we are quarreling, how do we quarrel so that we don't impact on these moving parts? I think for me that is very valuable.
In terms of organization and preparation, do you think the delegates and the all journalists and the media that are shining the spotlight on Africa and Uganda in particular will take a good and better image of this country?
I know, for example, one person who was around, senior officer, because you see there were 3 tiers: the senior officers, technical officers, the one you were talking about, the one Ambassador Adonia is now chairing, the summit, the meeting of ministers, and then the summit, which is the heads of state and government. And one who was part of the senior officers, I know that they went to the source of the Nile. They were dying to see the source of the Nile. And in fact, the feedback I got from them, I have never paid attention. They said, why do you make it difficult to find the source of the Nile? That it was not so obvious. They thought the roads would be, from the bridge, you'd have these big roads marked, to the source of the Nile. For them, it's such an important thing that we should be able to make it ready to receive people. So they were a bit disappointed about in their view, that we are not attaching adequate value for the returns it would bring to us. But I know that, for example, they went out. So that now...
So they have not been confined to the Munyonyo.
They had a bit of time to go out. Some of them, of course, find it difficult to go because of the schedule, of the tight schedule. But I know these ones who at least went. They said they had, for all reasons, they couldn't come to Uganda and not go to see the source of the Nile. And then one of the things they were talking about is the greenness. It's so green cover. Yes, it's so green. And there's so much fruit. There's so much fruit. So the things that people pick that we don't see.
So we have scored already.
In my view, at least from that particular group, yes, we have scored. But overall, we haven't had any incident to talk about.
Oh yeah, that is very good.
Yes.
From His Excellency the President, now the chair of the NAM for 3 years, he took a dig at the powerful Western leaders, and he said oppressors who used that temporal advantage, he referred to them as oppressors who took temporal advantage of access to technology and modern weapons. He calls them bullies who want again to conquer these developing nations. And he says, our stand is that the world should concentrate on the common common human problems. Prosperity through trade, advance of science and technology to deal with human problems, the environment, crime and terrorism, and he says the future is bright if we can act right.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there is nothing new in his...
He says the oppressors will learn, catch up and defeat the oppressor. That is why empires always all collapse. The idea of empires is a never idea. He's speaking to powerful nations.
Yeah, but first he has spoken this way severally, calling them all sorts of names and expressing his unhappiness. In fact, somebody gave me a publication, something which contains several of his writings. You can see this thread.
So you want to say they are used to these
you can see
statements,
this thread.
strong statements?
Yes. You can see this thread. This has been his thread for a long time. This stand. He mentioned something though, that empireship is not forever. No. This empire comes, it rises, and then stays, and then goes. Another one. Now, I would not apologize for being an emperor.
Oh.
No, I think human beings want to be emperors.
To dominate.
Yeah, I think human beings want to be emperors. What, for me, we have totally failed to do is to work to make Africa an African empire.
Okay.
I think we have very much failed to work to build an African empire. We have the potential to be an empire. The next empire.
Okay. Finally, from you, Dr. Jeda, don't you think this these meetings are timely. They've come at the right time, because if you look at what is happening in the region, Burundi with the conflict with Rwanda, then a conflict between Kenya and Tanzania over flights, then Somalia and Ethiopia, then in the Middle East there is a war raging on, then in Europe is on fire. Don't you think this comes at the right time?
I think the timing was right. Of course, wars have always been there. That's a fact. Even when the last NAM summit meeting happened in 2019, still people were fighting in Afghanistan, elsewhere. But for me, where it becomes more important is that there are certain issues that are affecting us. Issues like climate change. Issues like how do we, like the theme was, cooperation for global influence, that we can come together and try to influence things at an international level. For me, that is very important. But these others you mentioned, like for the region, I think those we must handle them ourselves as regional matters,
whether there is NAM or not.
For instance, we are struggling to handle this issue of Sudan. And I don't know whether it was an error on the side of IGAD or it was a strategy. You saw Dangalo, the rebel leader, coming to Uganda, Kenya, receiving red carpet reception. Now, when we call a summit, the president boycotts, and then we have a rebel attending the IGAD summit. So at the end of the day,
but you call a rebel, it's a fact he controls 70%.
Yeah, he does, but he doesn't have the legitimacy of the president. So if he attends and the sitting government in Khartoum doesn't attend, then we are likely to achieve very less. And actually, the president of Khartoum terminated all ties with IGAD. You know. Then we have here the Congolese troops straying in Rwanda and they are shot. Burundi closing its border with Rwanda. And so there are issues we must also focus on as a region. They are not going to take us anywhere. They are just, you know, a waste of time. A waste of like time. Richard was saying here.
Well, you can send in your messages now and observations 0701 609906. Make that comment short and precise and to the point. Tell us what you think about the progress of the international meetings going on in Munyonyo, both non-aligned movement and the G77, but also the IGAD extraordinary meeting of heads of states. Richard, finally.
It also triggered some matoke planting. I think next season we shall have quite a bit of matoke. I think the city will be, the matoke prices will go lower.
Sarcastic as it is.
Yeah, but you see,
is the motive to antagonize or to make a statement, a legitimate statement?
I think antagonism already exists. So that one is a given. There is antagonism between the people who are in power and those ones who are trying to get power. And that's part of human life, really. There is the ones who have and the ones who want to get. That's a competition that is always there. But it's also a reality that the roads are in very poor shape.
Yeah, but there are others who say it is un-African to have visitors in the room and the kid is screaming outside and kicking utensils.
They should also say that it is un-African for you to steal all the money, to take all the food from the granary and leave the kids hungry. They should also show, they should also bring that side. That there's this group which has access to granary, takes everything, and the kids are hungry.
So there is a justification.
So there is, you can't say this one.
For these demos.
An African thing is right and the other an African thing is not right. So when you are trying to get a voice, you have to look for the best opportunity to plug in and make a voice. So I think what else could these guys do? They had to try. I understand even during the speakers conference, there had been a move by some MPs to go and talk about the guys who had disappeared, or the ones who were abducted.
I heard some others were locked out.
Yes, they were locked out. So these people are also really fighting looking for an opportunity to voice. And it's true there are some people who are missing. It is also true that the roads in this city are in a shambolic state. So it's not entirely unjustified, in my view, that you have people who, what can they do? Plant some matoke, and hopefully the price of matoke can come down next time. But let me also tell you, it is true that the planting of matoke, some tractors, caterpillars, road equipment has moved faster. Wherever it was coming from, at least it has moved faster and arrived at the places where it's supposed to do some work. So it's not entirely a futile exercise.
Dr. Jire, do you want a final comment on that?
He has given it a very good analysis. Now, you see, he's a communicator, and in communication, the timing is very important. Because these guys sat and said, okay, we have visitors here, and they are locking all the expressway and taking visitors to good roads. Let us also show that apart from where the visitors are, Ugandans are also looking like this. So I think for them, they communicated. And of course, it was also the right time to provoke the police. And I think their prayer would have been that the police becomes chaotic and commits mistakes, but it did not happen. So somehow it made the protest very calm, and we have not lost anyone, which was good.
All right, the message is coming in, and he says, thank you so much for the program. I like the submissions, and NAM will come and go. Of course it will.
And maybe the last one, before I forget.
Muhwezi Frank, thank you so much for that message.
Around 1994, I was a young boy here at fire headquarters.
You were a young boy?
Yeah, I was.
So you were that young?
Yes. I was around here. And when I was at that place, I had the opportunity to see a number of heads of state whenever they came. We would stand there and watch. And I saw Bill Clinton arriving, waving to us.
Former US president.
And the president, Museveni, was smiling from ear to ear. You know, that time he was young, the chubby cheeks. And
was it 1995?
I think around 96, something like that. So, and when we were reading the newspapers, all the pages were praising him as a breed of new African leaders. By that time, he was the recipient of all Western aid. Was getting all the money. I think that when launched UPE, and so actually he had a blessing. And at that time, everyone saying what President Museveni was an agent of the Americans in the region. So I don't know at what stage did these things change that I'm seeing a totally different language. Maybe when moments favor us. When moments favor us, we are okay. But when things change, so I think the president's language is now reactionary. Maybe by then it was seen to be more tolerant, more democratic, and we had a term limits. People believed that the president was going to serve and leave, but over time the term limits were removed, age limits, and now elections have become again a do or die.
Yeah, true. Finally, from you, Richard, is there anything to change or and possibly make these events memorable? Or, from your point of view, I know you even know the undertakings within. Do you find gaps that can be quickly be filled and possibly pull off a memorable NAM 2024?
I think the one of the things is to have some program within the program that would increase a little bit of the exposure of some of the delegates to the beauty of our country. I think there is need. I know that the schedules can be very, very heavy and very difficult. But we need to, I think, be a bit creative around having some people, especially from some of the countries that have high volumes of tourists, see some of the beauty. I think that's one. I think the second one is to see how to utilize the army of journalists, the media armies that come following these delegations. Also to see how do we present to them our story. A more positive story. The other thing is, for example, my understanding that there was a program for the First Ladies that revolved around the girl child. And when the late Cecilia Ogwal was speaking there, reminded me of that. I think we also need to think about what you would call a development, a people development issue that maybe we would also highlight as part of these conferences. Because I think the politics is continuous and repetitive. We need to have something that the people, because otherwise we'll be having, they had them call it Namukwaya, Namugwanya, that's a short name for a certain Nam something.
Ugandan is
of presenting things. So I think that is the other thing. Finally, I think we have to recognize that we have too many young people in most of these countries. So how can we have something that would raise the attention of young people?
Anything to comment on the attendance?
Yeah, for me, the attendance is not lower or different from the previous conferences. No, I think it's good attendance.
Because I think people were asking questions. Where is this president? What is this president? But then finally, Cyril Ramaphosa showed up, and
it was a misunderstanding. The conference had 3 tiers. The presidents were only for yesterday and today. That's all. You can't have presidents staying for that long. So it was the senior and technical people, the ambassadors and that level. Then you had the ministers, and then you had the heads of state. And I think it's that lack of understanding. The people thought that heads of state would come for 6 days. No. You don't have.
But look at the list of presidents. Who came?
The heads of state. There's also a misunderstanding. If somebody from Ethiopia comes and is a deputy prime minister, because here they don't realize that the prime minister the other side.
He's the head of
government, not the president. So there's also that lack of understanding that if you have the deputy prime minister of China, people don't realize that that's one of the most powerful vice presidents in the world. Because for them, the prime minister is the head.
And then the memes were like, now look at Tubiang, Basogo, Mwema,
Of course, those are friends of Uganda. And some of
the Zimbabwe leader, Emerson Mnangagwa, and the
those are the leaders we have on the continent. That's the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the truth. Those are the leaders we have in the continent. So for those who may be unhappy with them, then they have to look for a way of dealing with that. But also, we have not had these conferences. Also have the Secretary General of the UN and the entire, the President of the General Assembly of the UN. They're all here.
Yeah.
If you want to say star-studded, then really.
Wow. This particular meeting was star-studded.
If you want to say.
One word, finally, from you. Is it a really star-studded meeting and event we've had?
We saw them. They came. They were here. What they spoke, we had. The resolutions, we know them. For me, it was successful.
We wanted to see Putin or Jinping here.
Putin is not part of this. No, Putin is not part of that.
Yeah, Jinping. Jinping.
So China was just an addition. And so that's what also people think that the big names, all these Europeans are not part of. Many of them are not part of this. No, because the Nana line was you, the Westerners, no. You, the Easterners, no. And even the Chinese, because of the G77 plus.
China.
Thank you. Thank you so much, our viewers. Let me look at the comments coming in. And he says, please say hi to visitors. But my question is, President Tuhabwa is given to chair NAM countries, yet his term is ending. On the way, how will it be?
It is Uganda.
By the way,
wait a minute. He says, ex-convict CEO Moranita Investment. I don't know whether.
by the way, we had that discussion.
That
on
discussion
one of
is
the
actually
forum.
running.
Someone
Museveni-
said, someone
yeah.
tagged the Museveni being given the chair
Up to
the
2027.
appointment of the electoral commissioners recently, and saying, now you see, it is complete. The man has to stay in power because he has to, he's a chairman for 4 years.
Yeah.
But this is a position of Uganda. In case
not the
President Museveni is not there tomorrow, the person who will be in charge will chair now up 2027.
It's a country position.
All right, I think that has been answered, and we need to move on. We only have a few minutes, and speak about the act of mercy from His Excellency the President. He has done it this time, and not only once, twice, or third. He has been doing it, but this time around, President Museveni drawing powers from Article 121 of the Constitution, extended the prerogative of mercy to convicts, including the former MD of the National Social Security Fund, Chandi Jamwa, who had been convicted on cases of causing financial loss to government amounting to 3 billion Ugandan shillings. And he's now a free man, alongside other 12 convicts, majority of them defilers. Dr. Jiro Wanzala is...
It is the other bit of releasing Mr. Jama with the defilers that for me, I paid more attention to that. Oh, what was the consideration here that Mr. Jama is released with about 10 defilers? So, and of course, it has drawn,
actually 11 defilers.
Actually, it has drawn a lot of reactions from women rights groups, saying maybe the other people, someone who may have stolen matoke to feed the family, that could be pardoned instead of a defiler who defiled a child. But leaving that aside, of course, Mama Tezira Jamwa must be very happy now. His son having been there for all that time. Of course, people, we all don't do only good things. Sometimes we have a bad and good side. Jamwa did some positive things for NSSF. And I remember when he was in charge, at some point people received 14% interest in 1 year. His crime of causing financial loss by selling securities before maturity,
treasury bonds.
Treasury bond before maturity, I think it may have been a mistake, but all the same, the president is right to exercise that power in the constitution, and of course I do not have much to say about it. For me, my only concern was him being put aside with defilers. I know they were all convicts, but
now it comes just after a few weeks. President Museveni also pardoned the former PS for the public service, Jimmy Rwamafa, almost on the same case of causing financial loss to government.
But usually before these people are released, are pardoned, there is always a demonstration that someone has reformed. And if you looked at the issue of Ramafa, an old man at that age, and maybe he didn't have any other future in the public service. So, but what matters is that, has someone served a punishment? Yes. Is it enough is it a deterrent that someone may not commit the offense again? I believe so, like for his case. Because other than his imprisonment, he also was removed from, for instance, Institute of Chartered Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. So even practicing
that is the video of Chandi Jamwa.
Even practicing his
being released from Luzira, the one in a blue T-shirt. Go ahead, Dr. Gerard.
Yeah, you see, even you being denied from practicing your profession is hard enough. So we see that he's leaving the prison, but again there are some challenges outside. So for me, what the president did is within his powers, and I believe he exercised it.
It is within his powers, but Richard Baguma, do you find anything?
But let's have all the corrupt.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Do you find anything, questionable about the president pardoning people who have caused financial loss to government without any strings of recovery, any hope of recovering that money?
First of all, Apollo, I really never thought that Jamwa's problems were about 3 billion shillings. No. Do we have an idea how much money NSSF handles?
Yeah.
I don't know if Ugandans have an idea.
It is around 15 trillion?
Yeah. Yeah. And do we know the budget of Uganda? Entire Uganda? Yeah. So one institution actually has just about the money of the country. Did anybody pay attention to how much money, where Jamwa found NSSF, and how much money he found it with, and how, at what point he left it?
Does that guarantee him, liberty to cause financial loss? Because he has made the institution to some level, took it to some level.
When I am looking at these situations, I try not to be moralistic. And I also know how the legal things here work. If people who make government get financial loss were to be in prison, how many people would we be having in prison? How come? The ones who make losses, real, they don't go anywhere near the police station. So for me...
At one point, he was being described as a sacrificial lamb.
And so, you move...
Is that what you're trying to say?
That you increase the NSSF's
portfolio
by 10 times. That you pay the highest payout that the savers had seen. And then you have 12 years in prison and everything. Does that look the normal in this country? How many financial billions scandals do we see coming out on a day?
So we leave thieves to roam?
No, I'm not saying we leave them. I am saying you have left them for decades to roam. That's what you do on an everyday basis. So what happens to... By the way, they didn't say he stole. No.
Cause it financial
It is not even a theft. That it could have been an operational misjudgment. The ones who,
he is culpable, but he may not be.
The ones who steal.
The one who dipped
and
the
steal
fingers.
more. How come we are massaging them?
Did you find it? Did you find it? Do you have an issue with him being pardoned alongside the filers?
First of all, I don't even know the others. None of the others rang a bell in my mind. So I'm not even sure that it's not a social media hype. Because you see, part of the things I do in my career, journalism, whatever, was focused on investigation. I know how lazy we have become. And whatever appears on social media.
No, but this letter was released by the Uganda Prison Service.
Me, I don't know. So I want to look at the letter.
Yeah, highlighting that 11 of them were defilers. One was manslaughter and Jamwa causing financial loss.
Me, I haven't seen the letter. I also want to ask now naively on the other side. Shouldn't defilers be treated like other prisoners? I don't know. You see, that's why I said I didn't know the names I would probably read something if I knew these names. I say, where does this person come from? How are they connected? You know, because those are the factors
If we have
that enter into this pardon thing. How does somebody get onto the list of pardon? The president never generates the list of pardon. The list of, no, the president doesn't know prisoners. Why don't we ask ourselves, where does the list of the people of those who, of those recommended for pardon?
That is our question there.
Where does it originate
Is
from?
this act of mercy being executed fairly?
So what is fairness?
And there are very many people there in Zira prison who actually
deserve mercy.
Deserve mercy.
Those are the questions we should be asking. And though I say, therefore, whom should we be asking? Is my question. Are we asking the right person? Are we focusing our attention on the right people? It's okay for NGOs to jump on any issue that will give them some coverage and mileage. I come from the NGO world. That's where
Okay, we only have 5 minutes, and we need to wind up. If you have a quick one,
this
please.
one would have been nice to have Charity here to kick the air and kick the ceiling and shout herself awesome.
Charity, if you're watching, here you are. Let me use this chance to inform the government that let it be that any released convict, they give him or her startup fund, otherwise tuli bubi nnyo. Yet we had something before, because I am the ex-convict CEO Moranita Investment. Jama brother will be back, you hear now. And do these people get anything upon release?
Actually, these prisons under the current Commissioner General, in prisons like Luzira, they have workshops, they have some activities they do for income generation. Now, they started a policy that when you are involved in maybe in crafts, and then they sell.
You expect Jamwa to be involved in crafting?
I'm giving just an example.
Okay.
Because you asked, do they get something on release? Of course, Jamwa may have some property somewhere and they can have startup. But I'm speaking for the majority.
For the local.
Yes. So what they did is, if some are involved in some crafts, for example, or carpentry, and then they are sold, there is a small fraction that they started keeping for them. But this applies to convicts, not to these people who are on remand. Exactly. So at the time you leave, they give you that something to take to go home with.
One final short, Dr. Gerard, we only have 2 minutes.
Yeah, in the battle against corruption, we shouldn't be selective. We shouldn't make one person pay for all the sins of others, and then we let others who enjoy the money go away. Please, we need to be seen to be fair. And it is so disturbing that people have developed a habit of thinking that you commit a crime, then you begin writing the president, oh, you're a father, hey, you know, you help me, you know, we have just, like you have always been merciful. That should stop.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone should carry their own cross, because the impact of our behavior is affecting society.
Thank you. Richard, your parting shot?
The impact of our behavior is impacting society. Please mind the alcohol you drink. The impact of your alcohol on yourself and the others is costing this country trillions. And please support the alcohol control bill that is before Parliament. We must manage the losses, the harm that alcohol is causing to this country.
Well, that's it. We've had testimonies of people who have been convicted wrongly in prisons here in Uganda, and they spent there 15 years.
Not just in Uganda.
20 years.
All over.
Without a case, and they've been there. I think it's time also to look at like Baguma said, the origins of these lists of people that are submitted to the president for this prerogative of mercy. My name is Prince Apollo. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, and let's catch up next Saturday in another edition of The Big Show. Good afternoon, and God bless Uganda.